Alright, good evening. This is Night Owl Al here in the Night Owl Garage. I am working on my Fiat X19 here, and I've got a bit of a tip for you and a bit of a little trick treat thing. Gonna show you what some real bad tie rod ends look like, but also a little tip for helping you get some ancient ones out. So I had a real bit of trouble on this side, just because I was dumb and didn't think of a couple of things while I was first going at it. First off, super tight, and it was hard getting it off, and when I was winding this out, focus, when I was winding this tie rod end out, was having trouble because the jam nut up here was sticking with the tie rod end and keeping it from, well, basically, you know how you get two nuts butted up against each other and they, you end up spinning the rod that they're on instead of spinning the nuts on the rod. It was kind of doing the same thing, although I was holding the rod steady, so it was kind of extra tight going down and made it real difficult for me. And that was even just holding on to this and holding on to beyond the threaded portion up here. This thing won't focus. But anyway, was holding all the way up on the sort of inner tie rod, and anyway, so the jam nut was seized to the tie rod end, and what I found on the other side that works real well if you've got crud and rust and things are bound together, and trying to just tighten the jam nut instead of loosening the tie rod end. If that's not working for you, a lot of times you can take your little pick like this, and if you scrape around the whole perimeter between the jam nut and the tie rod end, there will be a lot of crud, at least there was on mine. And the crud was preventing penetrating oil from getting down between the jam nut and the tie rod end. So, pro tip, clean stuff out so that the penetrating oil will actually get down there. And that worked. The other one, I went clockwise on the jam nut and counterclockwise on the tie rod end, and they came loose real easy and spun right off. So that's a little tip for you. Another tip, so these ball joints on the end of the tie rod ends, sometimes even when new they're pretty loose, and when you try to put the little nut on the bottom and tighten it down, it's going to just spin in there. And something that you can do, I mean, at first I was just trying to jam down on there while I was tightening it, and that really doesn't work. So what you do is you can take some wire, and I just used speaker wire, and anyway, between the bottom of this knuckle and this nut, I mean, you'll have to press this down a bit at first, but then you take your wire and you can kind of wrap it around the stud under there, and it'll take up a lot of this tension like you're pressing down on it. And then if you tighten it, or if you wind it really tight, it'll hold a lot of tension down there. So you can take and hold it with one hand, or maybe even, if you're clever, tie it to something or step on it, or I don't know, keep tension on the wire while you're tightening it. And that helped a lot on the other side as well for basically keeping the ball joint from spinning while I'm putting the lock nut on the threads. So that's another little tip for you, made the passenger side go twice as fast as the driver's side. Lastly, for a little bit of a treat, I'm going to move this light a little bit. These are my old tie rod ends, which I'm not sure if they are replacement ones from ages ago, or if they're in fact the originals. But you can see the boots were completely severed in half. There should be a boot sealing up all the way up here, and they're just gone. And that is loose, way loose. I mean, that's like a mortar and pestle, is what it sort of looks and feels like. There's no dampening, there's no grease left in there, just sort of rusty goo. And this one is even louder. So, but amazingly, of course I had play, you know, if you move your wheel sort of in and out like that, you know, there's some play, but it wasn't as bad as these you would think it would be. So really a little play is a lot, and I'm surprised it was driving as good as it was, as worn out as these are. And with that, I'm really excited to see how it drives with new tight ball joints, because these, I mean, I can't even move that very much, but now, you know, moving on the brake rotor, that's not going anywhere, so it should handle a lot better. Of course, when I button this up, I'm going to at least do a easy string alignment, make sure that everything is pretty close to straight, and back it up a little bit so that I've got a tiny bit of toe out, and then probably go to a Firestone or something like that and get a lifetime alignment, if they'll even work on this car. It's a bit of a pain to do some of this alignment stuff because of the way that this mid-engine car has tunnels for everything. But yeah, anytime you mess with this kind of stuff, these are your alignment parts. So anytime you're replacing this stuff, get an alignment, especially since, like I said, the jam nut on the driver's side here was captive by the tie rod end, and so it didn't stay at the end of the tie rod like it should have. So my alignment's probably not exactly where it was, but we'll get it there. Anyway, if you have any questions or thoughts, comments, anything, leave me a note down below. Please subscribe if you like what you see. I will try and do more stuff with this car, with the Volvo, with the bike, whatever, as things go along, and possibly other things too. So anyway, appreciate your time, and I've got a lot of other projects on this little Fiat. Got an autocross coming up in a week, and I'm getting cracking on it. So talk to you guys later. Bye.